You know what I've realized about being a high value woman in your 20s? It's not just about the luxury and the high life, it's about the discipline and the standards that you set for yourself. It's how you carry yourself when no one's watching, it's how you speak when an opportunity walks in, and it's also about how you invest in yourself when everyone else is playing small. So in this video, I'm breaking down 10 things that every young woman in her early 20s should be applying in her life now. So if you're in your early 20s, I'm going to be breaking down the habits, the mindset, and the daily standards that shape exactly who you'll be before anybody else recognizes it. It's the quiet discipline behind how you speak, think, and build. For example, I started real estate at 17, working in a corporate firm, a global leading firm, and these 10 things definitely helped me to shape myself into who I have become over the past few years. And whenever I speak with like-minded girls, they always think the same thing. It's a mutual beneficial tactic and strategy and blueprint that if you apply it into your life as well now, if you're in your early 20s, if you're 18, 17, you're just starting to think, who do I want to become? Follow these steps, girls. Let's get into it. Number 1 is dress how you want to be addressed. I will always say this because how you present yourself sets the tone before you even speak. Because when you look polished, people will treat you accordingly. It's not about wearing luxury and designer goods. It's about staying classy, modest, in your own way and style. I'm not saying there's a one way to dress, but the way you dress is also a form of self-respect, and it reflects how other people will treat you and how people will address you. For example, it's important to know the etiquette and the type of clothing that will suit the environment that you will be attending. Or for example, the country that you travel to and how you can respect their rules in the dress attire that you wear. For example, I'm in the UAE right now filming, and when I go into Dubai Mall, sometimes you see some Western women who are showing a bit much, and they will often get stares, and it wouldn't be the type of stares that you would want from people. But if you dress modestly, that I've realized people treat you accordingly. They treat you to a higher respect, they want to talk to you, they want to get to know who you are in a classy and kind demeanor, rather than something that would be belittling you or looking at you in a sexualized way. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. We need to face reality. And as we're getting older, girls, we need to throw away those 15-year-old crop tops that we've got that we're still trying to hold on to. I can't lie. I did a reclutter recently of my room and my wardrobe, and there was so many pieces. I don't wear any more patterned short tops that are too tight for me now. Yeah, I could keep that when I'm walking around the house. But for now, when you're really thinking about the future woman that you want to be, would she wear that outfit? Would she wear that top that you wore when you was 15 still? Think about the higher version of yourself and what she would wear. If she's not going to wear it, dump it, girls. We need to give that to charity, sell it on Vinted, or give it to do a hand-me-down if you have some siblings. So let's dash that. Some of those pieces have even lost its color, so honey, it's time to let that go. I realized this at 17, that dressing how you want to be addressed is important, because when I went into business meetings and I was wearing a nice, cute, structured blazer, looking well, if I was in an open house and we're doing an event for a property, oftentimes clients or other agents would perceive me as older than I am because the way I dress is very mature. I would ask them, why do you think I am? For example, I'd be like 17, I'd be like 18, for example, and they'd assume that I'm 24. And it's like, it's nothing to be offended by. I still have the baby face that they'd always say. It's the maturity in how you present yourself. And your dressing also reflects how you would want to present yourself. My loves, this is the type of compliments that we want to be receiving, not just how sexy you are. Sometimes there's a time and a place for that, but for when we're going to be in our big girl jobs, it's not the place for that. So definitely dress how you want to be addressed. Now let's get on to point 2. Number 2 is learn how to articulate yourself with confidence. The ability to communicate clearly and well can completely change the trajectory of your career, the type of people that you connect with and get along with. You want to make sure that you're speaking calmly, you think before you speak on particular topics to make sure that you are articulating it in the best way possible, because nowadays you can articulate something in a way that you think was best, but if you've not trained yourself on the best way to speak, you may It may come out wrong, people may perceive it incorrectly. You never want to rush your words as well. You want to take your time when you're speaking. You want to expand your vocabulary bank as well. Here are some videos, examples of what you can watch to improve the way you articulate yourself and speak. Whether that's you doing public speaking or you're generally just speaking to people on a day-to-day basis. Watch these videos. I'll link them in my description so you can also learn and get better at how you speak with others, because the interactions that you have, if you can make them quality conversations, girls, you will see the results. The results will speak for itself. Oh, it's getting windy out here. Oh no, a little break. Where's this wind coming from, please? Girls, I literally have a notes app filled with new vocabulary that I learn. I will write it down and then I will practice using it until it's engraved within my personal mind's glossary. So it's like, I remember the first word that I proper wrote down, it was like the word lethargic, and that means slow. And then I just started using it in a bunch of sentences. And eventually, I loved using that word. And like, for example, I'm on holiday and one of the girls, Ophelia, shout out to you, she said the word quaint and I hadn't come across that word before. And I started using it in sentences. It's in my vocabulary and it's just a cute other word for like how everyone's like demure, cute, sweet. So that's one hack that you guys can apply. You can use a notes app, and anytime you learn a new word or form of vocabulary, you can start practicing using it in sentences. You won't regret that. Another example would also be when I was young, working in with clients as well. Oftentimes, I would have to learn and memorize the specification of apartments and buildings, and sometimes I found that quite challenging. So to help myself overcome this, I would practice in the mirror, just repeating the key bits and information about the property's spec, the developer who built it, and eventually the more and more I practiced, the more and more composed I was and more confident to speak on those topics. So when it came to me actually talking about it in real life, I had another level of confidence because I'd already repetitively practiced talking about it and it engraved in my mind, and anytime anyone quizzed me on something, I would know how to speak on that topic, because the main thing is you want to sound composed. You don't want to sound uncertain when you're speaking about things. So the more you practice how you communicate, this is the way that us humans understand each other. If there was no form of communication, how would we understand each other's needs? How can we understand each other's emotions without assuming? How can we understand what people want? So there's a reason why communication was built, and I'm grateful to be even able to communicate. Many people cannot, and they have alternative ways. So if you've been blessed with being able to communicate and articulate yourself, go. It's time to make that top notch. Confidence isn't volume, it's clarity. It's clarity on knowing what you're discussing and being able to articulate it correctly. That's that tip. Learn how to articulate yourself with confidence. Let's get on to the next one. Number 3 is expand your circle beyond your culture. The biggest amount of growth happens when you step outside of familiar spaces. I'm talking about when you go into different industries, you meet people from different backgrounds. Say, for example, you're in school still and you're soon going to start your big girl job. Maybe, for example, you've gone to a school and most of the people there are from a similar ethnic background. People might speak one particular language. People might only have particular life experiences which you can relate to. However, the reality is, it's more exciting when you have a friendship circle or a network of people from different countries and different cultures and different ethnic backgrounds, because it stretches your perspective. It stretches your perspective, and it often also softens your ego slightly as well. For an example, I actually grew up in Northwest London, and I went to primary school, secondary school in Northwest London, and most people there would either be black or Hispanic and white, but my school was mostly filled with black and Hispanic students, pupils. However, my family made the decision to move out into Northamptonshire, and when they made this decision, I was put into a school where there was probably only like 5 of us black kids in my year group. And that was then a culture shift for me, where I was like, okay, now I'm having to make friends with more people that don't look like me. And that was a big shift for me. And it made me I kind of was really excited, because I was like, I'm fine to be a minority here. I'm not going to let that stop me from connecting with people who don't look like me. And now I have friends from all different backgrounds. For example, I moved back to London as well now for work, and London is such a diversity in general anyways. So then I've made more friends with people from different backgrounds. I've got Southeast Asian friends, I've got friends from Eastern Europe, I've got friends from Eastern European countries as well. Met some of my friends from the US. I've got more friends from different regions within Africa as well. So it's like, it's so nice to have a diverse group, whether that's in your network or your friendship circle, you can learn from them. I also have some Mandarin speaking friends as well, and it just enriches your quality of experiences. I've even gone to Poland this year because I have two Polish friends that took me to Poland, and it opens your eyes a lot. I also went to my first Southeast Asian wedding this year. Some of the biggest breakthroughs come when you come out of your comfort zone and you're not always in your usual norm. Because if you just stick to your ways, your life experience will also reflect that. Because exposure expands the potential which you are able to achieve. For example, my mentor when I joined was a male. I could have said, no, I just want a female mentor because a male mentor won't be able to relate to me. But having those mentors actually expanded and shifted my perspective when it comes to particular topics and ways of performing in my industry and life in general. So, girls, as I was saying, exposure expands your potential. Let's get on to number 4. Number 4 is pay for education when necessary. Because free information is everywhere. We're in a digital age where information can cost nothing. But to have real transformation, sometimes that can cost. I will never say to always think a course is a scam. I think it's important to shift your mindset that it's good to invest in courses, it's good to invest in mentorship, it's good to invest in resources which can sharpen your skills, where you can be educated by professionals or skilled individuals who have done what you are trying to do. A lot of people have got the blueprint out there to teach you how you can do something. For example, this form of content, I'm giving it to you girls because it's things I've learned along the way. And if I had someone who could tell me what to top 10 things I should start applying before I get into my early 20s, I would have been buzzing for that. This type of content is super impactful, but also when you take the extra step and you pay for information, it can also motivate you to actually want to apply it, because people's time costs money, but also when you invest in yourself, that's when you can start to see a great return. For example, I've paid for a few courses. I've paid probably $3,000 in mentorship and like courses and different opportunities, and I haven't regretted a single one. I haven't regretted a single pound that I've spent on my investments for mentorship because I've actually applied them. And I think it also adds another element of accountability. It's always nice to have an accountability partner. So just take it as self-education is self-worth in action. The 5th step is to make sure you are being financially conscious early. It is so important to start managing your money early from a young age, because the longer time you give yourself to start planning, the further ahead you will be. So for example, if you're 18 right now and you're just trying to think about your finances, now is the time to take that serious, honey. You might have your sixth form tutor that's telling you, oh, don't worry about it now, you don't need to stress about it. Girl, the earlier that you can think about it, the better. If you're 23, 24, 22, and you're thinking, I haven't even started, it's not too late. The sooner you can and you realize that you can start doing it, the better. And you just got to go for it. Ways that you can start managing your money early is by learning to invest, learning to save strategically, whether you're wanting to buy your first house. I use something called a lifetime ISA. It's controversial. Some people don't want to use it, but it's beneficial if you're using it to buy your first property as on a residential mortgage. I can do another video explaining a bit about that, but there's other smarter ways to invest. Rather than keeping it in a low interest savings account, you can use cash ISAs, and you can use stocks and shares ISAs for long-term investment goals, where you can actually invest in the brands that you buy every day. Rather than buying Nike every day, if you like Nike, you can invest in some shares, you can invest in some stocks. For example, if you have a lot of Apple products, here I have my MacBook, for example. Although I've also bought a MacBook, I also invest in Apple stocks because it's a type of brand which I know a lot of people buy products from, no matter how much it fluctuates. It's quite fun when you invest in stocks of brands that you use, because you could say, yeah, I'm a consumer, I like using it, but I also own some stocks. It's quite exciting to say. Control over your finances means freedom over your life. You are the one that can have control, and you don't need to depend on others. Start off by saving an emergency fund, maybe that's 1 to 2 months worth of your usual spending habits. Having that aside, which you don't touch it until a rainy day, will give you so much peace of mind. Because when I was 18, I started investing. Soon, even no matter how little I was earning, I worked at JD, girls, and JD don't pay the best. I still found a way to start saving since young. It gave me those little habits which shape the way I handle my money today, and I know we'll all benefit from that. Wealth begins with awareness, not income. Number 6, protect your energy like it is a currency. Guard your peace, because you can't build a fulfilling life if you keep entertaining drama and chaotic people. I used to say yes to everything. I used to be a crybaby, and I used to take things personally until I realized that not everyone is clapping and rooting for you. Once you set your boundaries, your creativity and discipline can thrive, because distraction can often stop you from your mind's usual flow of thought. Sometimes it's okay to take time away from others and the chaos, because that's when your brain has more time to really think and focus on what is important and reflect on the creative ideas that you can implement. So girls, get busy, find a new hobby, whether that's a sport, looking after yourself, cooking, doing content creation. Protecting your energy protects your potential, girls. Number 7 is build a digital footprint that works for you. I know we're in the era of being online, there's a lot of content creators and influencers, but you want to think, if you want to get online, you need to think of a digital footprint that works best for you and your lifestyle. You don't need to copy others just because everyone else is doing it. You can think of what really works best for you. It's getting so windy, it's insane. Testing. Okay, I've had to change it to this because the wind is insane, so I put my little fluffy thing on top. Number 8 is master feminine habits and discipline. I would say that true femininity is structure and softness coexisting together. Like, being able to have a balance of both is something that is so unique. So by that I mean staying consistent with your routines, whatever you do to make yourself feel your best self and put it together, whether that's grooming in a sense of doing your nails, whether that's you doing it yourself, or if you're actually willing to go and pay for it to be done, do it, girl. If you feel like lash clusters enhances your looks, like I personally really like doing lash clusters. I used to get them done all the time. We'll pay like £60 when I was younger, like when I was in like 18, finishing sixth form. But then I was like, I end up getting so gappy so quickly, versus if you do your own clusters, it lasts longer. Like I can have mine last like 2 weeks. I'll literally get them off of Amazon, and then I would buy the glue from Superdrug. I'll use the Tatty lash glue. So that's a form of a way that I like to keep myself put together and well groomed. So any type of routine that you feel makes you feel like that girl, basically. Or for example, it doesn't always have to be about appearance. It could be wellness. If you're someone that's into prayer, if you're a religious person and prayer gives you a sense of peace, definitely tap into that more if you want to learn more about your faith. Another form of appearance would be like your skincare, so investing in good skincare products. And sometimes going simple is often better as well. I feel like when you have too much of a complex like skincare routine, the more complex it is, the more problematic your results will be sometimes, because it's like you're putting too much stuff onto your face. For example, I also like to move my body, so I'm quite a person that likes to dabble in different activities, and then I will stop it and then I'll try something new. Like I've done tennis lessons, I've done horse riding, I've done Pilates, I went to the gym and I got so tired of going to the gym. So I'm always trying to find things that make me feel excited for activities. I really do like playing tennis. That I really enjoyed, and horse riding, so I'm going to get back into that. But these type of routines is not about you being vain. It's a form of maintenance for your peace and sanity, and we want to make sure we are sane. We don't want to be going insane because we're not prioritizing our peace. So that is what I define as being able to tap into your femininity with habits and discipline. Because I feel like when I'm aligned physically, I perform better professionally anyways, and my interactions will be more enriching when I'm feeling like I'm presenting myself in the best way possible in my version. My version of presenting myself in the best way mine may not be the version of the way you present yourself. I may want my nails done, you may not want your nails done. I'm not telling you have to do it a certain way, but it's good to figure out what your way is. So looking after yourself is a form of leadership as well, because at the end of the day, you're leading yourself. And if you can best look after yourself, when it comes to a time maybe in the future when you have dependents, you already know how to look after yourself. So it's not going to be a burden of feeling too misplaced or out of touch because you don't know how to look after yourself and you don't know what you need to stay sane. Number 9 is learn how to move in male-dominated spaces. Preparation for this, especially if you're young going into corporate world, will be so powerful for you. Even if you're in the corporate world now and you may struggle with it, because we all do. I'm not going to lie and say I'm perfect at being able to maneuver myself the best when I'm in male spaces all the time, but I have definitely come a long way, and I'm just confident within where I don't care if I'm walking into a room filled with males. I know that I'll be fine and as long as I'm my most authentic self. But in order to teach you how to do this, my best form of advice would be to always be prepared. For example, if you're going into a meeting, prepare yourself for what the meeting agenda will be, because preparation is power. When you know your craft, you can command more and you can command respect without having to compete for it. You won't have to compete for attention in any other way if you know your craft. For example, when I'm in meetings, despite being an apprentice, make sure I do not shrink myself to feel any smaller just because of my seniority or my age or my being a woman. Instead, I focus on being one of the most prepared in the room. I'll be there early. Sometimes a room is not even booked. I'll check the booking to make sure we have a room booked. Make sure I know context before I go into the meeting. For example, if you meet with a client, you want to know all the background checks on them, the context. For example, you're looking into the news, industry news, anything to do with interest rates that have changed, any political decisions that have been made that affects particular businesses. How can you go into a meeting with particular bits of context that can help strengthen and command respect because you are well knowledgeable about what is being discussed? That is what earns respect, and that's how you can put yourself further forward and stand out in those male-dominated spaces. They will see that you're not a woman to be played with. Because the thing is, you don't need to match their masculine energy. You need to make your own. Okay, girls? You need to make your own and you need to master your own. My final advice before my DJI dies is step number 10. Step number 10 is keep raising the standard. Girl, there's never a limit for how high you can go. You can keep going higher. The sky is limitless. It keeps going up and up and up. Even if you end up like the richest woman alive, even if you were the richest woman alive, I'm sure there's always a way of fulfillment of where you're like, I can do more. So always keep raising the standard. Never get comfortable at one level of excellence. You need to keep stretching yourself until what once seemed intimidating then becomes so effortless. For example, being in Dubai right now, it has shifted my mindset on the type of people that I have been around, the type of conversations that I've been with has genuinely shifted my mindset even more. I always feel like I'm having a mindset shift, and that you can have limitless mindset shifts. There's never a limit to how many times you can shift your mindset and have a new view. Because here, everything operates at excellence and everyone is in the pursuit of success. So that kind of energy forces you to want to elevate. So also have a think about your circle. Are you around like-minded people? Do people, for example, UK banter is often a case where people say it's like we have to put each other down as a joke when it's really not funny. So reevaluate your circle, like I said in one of the other points, and realize that there's a lot more to life, and surround yourself with higher achievers so that you can always be reminded that there's always a higher purpose waiting for you. So don't chase no limit, just keep raising the standard instead until elevation feels normal and it feels usual to you. So if this spoke to you, please do subscribe to the channel. I create content on career, confidence, and particularly real estate as well. I have a Real Estate Leaders podcast which has released, so if you want to know about the journeys into real estate in different ways, please do tap into my podcast. Second episode is coming out, or it probably already is out, but the first one was so good. And I'm also starting to create content on becoming the woman that you are meant to be, inside and out. If you are ready to step into property, I want to mentor up to 10 women in the next few months, guide them step by step on landing real estate roles, whether that's an apprenticeship or any form of a real estate role, and to build your own path. So I've got links below for anything I've referenced in this video. If you're interested, do get in touch and let's get started. Let's get ahead, girls, and become the best versions of ourselves. See you on the other side, and I'll speak with you soon. I love these little chit chats.